and welcome to Mad About Markets. I'm Ritu, with me as always, Mangalam. Hi, Mangalam.
Hi, Ritu. I had quinoa salad for breakfast today, and I'm likely to have bajra roti for lunch and maybe something ragi related for dinner. Does that ring a bell?
It does, and it's only very recently in office from, our head of production, Jay Shankar, that I heard about foxtail millets.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it really is the year of the millets, and it is on top of mind. So that's what we discussed today on Mad About Markets.
Let's do that.
Well, we'll do that because, we have a historical significance as well when we talk about millets. There is evidence that these grains were found in the Indus civilization in 3000 BC. Did you also know that millets were one of the first plants to be domesticated for food? And today they're grown in more than 131 countries. In Asia and Africa alone, millets remain a traditional food for nearly 60 crore people.
Wow, 60 crore people for so many years, the millennia of the millets. This, of course, is the International Year of the Millets, but let's talk about how big the market opportunity is and the fact that it's on a steady rise. As of 2022, the international opportunity or the market size of millets were close to around $12.3 billion. That's likely to go all the way up to $16.3 billion by 2028. Not too far away from here, growing at about 4.5% compounding rate. But the opportunity is a lot larger, right?
Well, that's the global opportunity that we're talking about, right? So let's also focus on India and how that fares. Because India is the world's top millet producer today with a 19% share in fact, the total production. The top 5 producers, including Nigeria, Sudan, US and China, along with India, make up more than half of the global production. Let's also take a look at the consumption pattern here. Now, the top 10 countries accounted for almost 80% of the total consumption in 2022 of a little over 19 million metric tons, and India accounts for 20% of that global share. When you break it down, about a third of this 90 million metric ton is used for animal feed. The remaining 70% plus is used for food, seed and industrial use.
All right, so that's about the countries that produce millet, consume millet, and the reasons or the places where millets are consumed. But importantly, what the opportunity is, we have with us Prashant Parameswaran, who's the MD and CEO of Tata Consumer Soulful, and Raju Bhupati, founder and CEO of True Good. Well, thanks a lot, gentlemen, for joining in. And Prashant, coming to you first, what according to you is the opportunity size in millets?
The way I look at millets and the opportunity that we actually have is across the entire foods category. And if I look at packaged foods, I think it has a play. It can run across all the categories, ranging from breakfast cereals to snacking to biscuits to noodles to pasta to pancakes. So it can go across and it can actually have a share within each of these categories. So in fact, if I even say it has the ability to go to 5 to 10% of the entire packaged foods industry.
Well, let's talk about those categories, Raju. Then, what is the current share of millet-based snacks in the overall snacking industry for India?
We are seeing great traction in the millet space. However, if you really compare the millet snacks as compared with the regular oil deep fried oil snacks in the 5 rupee 10 rupee category, it is still fractional, and we are seeing huge growth in the coming years.
Well, it could be 5 to 10% of the overall packaged food industry as per the experts. But why are we going on and on about millets, right? Well, it's, of course, extremely beneficial for one's health. But remember, it's also economically beneficial. They're much cheaper to grow than some of the more popular grains that you and I consume. In fact, they're hardy, drought-resistant, and require less water. If you just take a look at the numbers out there, they consume a staggering 70% less water than rice, grow in half the time it takes to grow wheat, and need 40% less energy for processing than maize itself. I mean, we talk about efficiencies, bringing technology in and optimizing resources.
Yeah.
What better than millets here?
Sure, but it's not that easy to sell to the consumers. These are coarse grains we're talking about. Let me actually put that to our guest, Prashant. Millets aren't really the tastiest food out there. How do you make sure you're able to sell more to the consumers without adding more sugar and fat?
We cannot allow or request, even if you will, the consumer to change his or her palate. He or she is spending his or her hard-earned 5 rupees, 10 rupees, 20 rupees, what it may be, or even 100, 400 rupees. But what we need to deliver is the promise of darn good food. And it is very, very important for us to stay focused on that. And that's been a very, very core pillar for us, which is also the reason that we have been having significant growth at Soulful, and how we have been really increasing our piece of our business is because the consumers are really liking and appreciating the kind of taste, the generation that the product is actually delivering to the consumer.
Well, hang on, gentlemen. We'll come to you in just a bit. Now, we know India has a remarkable story when it comes to millets. We predominantly produce jowar, bajra and ragi, which together make up 98% of all the millets that we produce in India. In 2012, the country produced 16.3 million metric tons of millets. By 2022, that had increased to 17.6 million metric tons. This growth is noteworthy because the decrease in area under millet cultivation that took place during that 10-year period. The productivity has improved, but only marginally when you look at the last decade. More than 1 metric ton per hectare to nearly 1.3 metric ton per hectare. But the per capita consumption, that has actually dropped drastically from 30.94 kilograms per annum to in the 60s to about 3.87 kilograms per annum now. What explains this significant drop? Well, production has mostly remained stagnant, as we told you, and the population, of course, has been increasing, and hence this decline in per capita consumption, which now, of course, the government is trying to drive up.
And people were thinking of millets as coarse and not really cool as all the other things which were grown, right? But until recently, millets have largely been neglected, like Ritu pointed out, and overlooked as well, whereas other fancier grains like wheat, rice have taken the spotlight. However, this story is now slowly and steadily changing. Millets received some attention in 2012 when the then government crafted a policy called Initiative for Nutritional Security through Intensive Millet Production. In 2018, millets were declared as nutri-cereals and added to the National Food Security Mission itself. And 300 crore rupees were earmarked for its development. That's not all. It was in 2018 that the Indian government actually proposed to the UN to declare 2023, which is the year that we're in right now, as the International Year of Millets. That gave millets a shot in the arm, and the government actually earmarked nearly 800 crore rupees or $100 million for millet-based products under its production-linked incentive schemes, the PLI schemes as we know it. And there were 33 applicants who were selected. This year's union budget also announced funding for the Indian Institutes of Millets Research in Hyderabad for further R&D. So there is a fair amount of government support coming in as well. So let's get in our guests.
Well, Raju, actually, let me come to you. You know, what more needs to be done to make millets a more mainstream, grain from a company as well as a policy perspective, given the immense health and economic benefits we've been speaking about?
So if you see, how a product can be a mainstream product. So the mainstream product necessarily have to have 3-4 predominant parameters. One is the shelf life. The Western products that are imported in India, the chocolates and Bounty and many things that are imported into India, come with at least a minimum of 9 months to 1 year shelf life. So we have to, in order for us to achieve that level of shelf life, so the quality of the grain in the millets, you have to really standardize the quality of the grain, because millets are grown across India. The pH levels and the overall soil salinity levels are quite abnormally different.
Well, despite being the world's top producer of millets and having a lot of government push, India's share in the world millet exports has fluctuated over the years and is now under 2%. However, India is drawing up a roadmap to figure among the top 3 exporters come 2025. The future does look promising, especially with the potential export opportunities. So let's have a look at them. With the increasing popularity and demand, there are tremendous opportunities for various millet-based products, from grain and flour to biscuits and beverages. In fact, a study by Yes Bank finds that India has the potential to export millet and millet-based value-added products worth $2 billion come 2030. Now, that's an opportunity players do not want to miss.
And they aren't missing it for sure. I mean, if you just take a look at the major companies who are present in the food space in India, we have Britannia, ITC, Tata, Nestle, all of them are hopping onto the millet bandwagon as early as they can and investing monies as well. We have Britannia, talking about NutriChoice biscuits, cookies with millets added, noodles, pastas, ragi vermicelli, the whole host coming in from the stable of ITC. Nestle has made an announcement that they will add millets to even something like Maggi, and Tata Soulful from Tata Consumer has a 2-year pipeline of products. So all of them definitely looking at millets as an important part of their overall portfolio.
So let's ask Tata what that product pipeline is. Prashant, what kind of investment are you looking at in this space?
We have not just built a highly automated and one of India's largest value-added processing plants, which is dedicated to millets in the outskirts of Bangalore. We are also setting up another factory in the in the northern to central part of India. So that's on that front. We are investing heavily on research and development to bring out new products, and like we discussed earlier, which is entering into very many new categories. And the third, at the front end, we're also investing in communicating, connecting, and getting the consumers to really touch, feel, and gain, and get to taste the product and really start bringing them into their consumption fold.
All right, Raju, let's talk about millet-based snacks. I mean, we've spoken about how everyone is getting into things like Maggi and noodles and all of that and stuff. Can they be as popular as, say, something like chips, biscuits, chocolates? Can millets be the mainstay?
Millets, while of course have highly nutritious content, but there are some challenges in terms of shelf life as well. So if you really compare, between the millets and as well as the wheat and corn-based chips and your starch-based chips, the shelf life remains a challenge. So when you look at whether it can really compete into the mass market, yes, it's got tremendous potential to compete into the mass market. So True Good, the products that we have launched, like 5 rupee and 10 rupee, look at the scale that we have achieved in the last 2 to 3 years in terms of selling like 2 million products per day, which essentially mean that yes, we can cater to mass market. Mass market is primarily 5 rupee, 10 rupee. If we are able to produce the millet-based snacks in the 5 rupee and 10 rupee market, yes, definitely millet is going to revolutionize that space as well.
All right, hold your thoughts, gentlemen. We have another guest joining us in the studio. Devendra Chawla, the founder of Samyog Health Foods, is with us. Devendra, welcome to CNBC-TV18, and thank you for joining us here on Mad About Markets.
Nice to meet you, Devendra.
Hello.
So we just heard from True Good about why it's hard to make millets more mainstream. What, according to you, are some of the issues that need to be fixed?
Right. So one of the issues around millets is the awareness about their health benefits.
Yeah.
So millets are an extremely good source of carbohydrate. They are high in fiber and low GI compared to other cereals, which means they help control blood sugars better. They're also very high in micronutrients.
Right. A couple of things that really stand out, and we had discussed that when we did the health foods episode on our show, was that people are willing to pay only so much more for something which is healthier. How do you make millets a lot more affordable in your day-to-day use cases? Because now we go out, we see multigrain chips a lot more expensive than the regular ones. All the other healthier alternatives are a lot more expensive.
So as economies of scale grow, costs come down. So as more people become aware about millets and start consuming millets, the costs themselves will drop. Also, a lot of improvements are happening in the value chain on the processing side to reduce the cost of millets.
How much would that investment entail for, say, someone like you?
We don't work on that side of the business. So we make end products that are high in protein and have better quality ingredients like millets. So we make high protein dosas with millets, high protein vermicelli with millets, and gluten-free flours with millets.
With your production increasing, do you think there are enough capacities and there are enough suppliers of millets? Are you finding any sort of shortage in sourcing millets?
We don't have any problem in sourcing millets. We find it very easy to find the millets. Where we do a lot of work is in improving the textural profile, and so we do a lot of innovation in improving the textural profile of the millets so that it is something the consumer likes consuming better from a taste and texture perspective, and it's easier to use in the house. So for example, in our flour, by just adding hot water, it's very easy to make a roti versus regularly.
And how do you process it without it losing its nutritional value?
So we use mechanical processes to do that. They don't affect the nutritional value of the product, but they improve the processing capabilities.
All right, Devendra, hang on. We do have some more questions, but we have to take a short break on that note. Don't go anywhere. When we return, we're going to discuss, as always, the yays and mays and ask the bigger question.
Yes, the bigger question, as always, are millets the future of food? Let's talk about that as well, Devendra. Just hang there.
Sure.